Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another installment of Featured with Three Left Feet. My name is Jayran, and today I'm joined by Francesca Adams. Francesca, would you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Well, my name's Francesca, and I am based in the northwest, and I'm a portrait artist. I work on commission. I'm just turned 21, so I'm a very new artist, and I'm very thankful to be here today. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is just such an absolute pleasure. So, our first question that we like to ask our featured artists is, how would you define yourself as an artist?
I think that's a difficult question because as a working on commission, I think it's hard to try and find your own voice as an artist. I have tried again and again to be, find my own abstract style. I did a little bit of art in my first year of university. I tried to really push the boat out with some sculptures, and I ended up reverting back to traditional art. So I would call myself a traditional artist. I love life drawing, and I think I could still definitely say I have my own style, even though I do life portraiture. So
Where do you draw inspiration from?
well, I'm actually back on my my own farm at the moment that I grew up on. I've been around animals my whole life. I used to sit in the fields and draw the horses from life when I was like 5 or 6 and 7 with this huge clunky notebook. So I've constantly been drawing, and I think drawing from life has been my biggest inspiration. Before the pandemic, I tried to draw and do commissions from life as much as possible. I think we lost that a bit with if I have international clients, I have to obviously use a photograph, and it's really difficult to capture a life from just a still picture. So definitely life drawing is my biggest inspiration.
Wow. So actual living beings.
Yeah, it's so important, yeah, to capture that life in a portrait. You have to see it sort of moving and living and breathing, and it's just so important to the art, especially to make it my own piece of work as well.
How did this all start for you then?
I've always drawn, I've always had copious amounts of sketchbooks, but more often I've been pushed into doing sort of academic careers. Art has always been on the back burner for me, and I've always seemed to come back to it. I've just finished my English degree, and I've absolutely loved it. I'm glad I didn't do art at university, but I've always seemed to have it there. Everybody sort of knows, but I did maths at A level, and I also had art, and people be like, "How are you in 2 different departments?" So, A level was I had a wonderful teacher, and she really pushed my portraiture skills. So thanks to her, really.
That's super interesting to hear that you're actually grateful that you didn't, pursue it at a higher level. How did you develop your skills then, later on without necessarily the theory and stuff?
Yeah, I think theory is so important. I mean, I did a little bit of art in first year. I did it as a minor, and Lancaster University was so wonderful for their minor scheme. I think that's fabulous. And I realised that I was a very little fish in a very talented pond. I had my course mates were doing some art that was just, I felt leagues above my own because I just did portraiture. But we had a life drawing class every week, and it wasn't well attended, but I used to go, and that really helped my skills. But honestly, this sounds like a really pre-prepared answer, but just practice. I just used to draw all the time, draw anything. I didn't learn the theory. I still don't know the theory. You could ask me about an artist, and I probably wouldn't have any idea what you were talking about. But I think traditional skills shouldn't be neglected, and I think that they're starting to be, as I've noticed through like an art education, they are being left behind a little bit. But I think they're really core to making like abstract art especially. So
Do you have any advice then you would give to yourself when you were first starting out this practice? Would you have told yourself to, focus on different techniques or maybe just experiment more? I'm really curious then.
I probably would have told myself to not let people try and change my practice. The commission business, realistic commission business is so, it's like the estranged, like the Sirius Black of the art world. I think that's all, you know, about showing your soul on a piece of art, which I could never do. I think it's so amazing. But lots of people told me, well, like, you're not your own artist, you're just drawing other people, you know, you're just drawing from life, there's no real art in that. And I think I would tell myself to not listen to that, and also to not underestimate my own skill and pricing. I would tell myself to price up when I was younger, and I thought that because I was so young I couldn't charge people a lot of money, but now I look back, I think no, I should have had triple the price.
How did you get started in the commission business then? Is this something that online you just saw other people do and did it yourself?
Yeah, I used to go to a lot of, with my dad, we used to go to a lot of farm shows, and there used to be this woman, and she would sit with, and she was like a commission artist, and she would sit with a piece of art, and she would draw it on the day to obviously show off her skills, and I would be like mesmerised. I was like 10, I was like, oh my gosh, and I would come back throughout the day, and obviously she'd have done more of it. I thought, you know, I would love to do this. I would love to just sit and draw for my whole life. It was just through friends of friends. I still don't have a website set up or anything. It's through word of mouth, really. My dad has a lot of connections in the farming world, and I suppose equine art is my biggest. Seller sounds really business-like, but I have a lot of horse owners. It's starting to trickle more into normal families, because we certainly aren't normal here on the farm, which is really nice.
You've kind of touched upon this with your last answer, and obviously now talking about the commission business. I'm very curious to get your opinion, because as someone who works freelance myself, a lot of the time a puzzle that I have is art as a business versus art as a passion.
It's certainly hard when, I'm sure you have it yourself, you're looking at this piece of work that you're supposed to be doing, and you're like, I hate it. It looks so bad, but I don't have time to redo it. So this is it. It's so, and I catch myself going, oh, I have to go and do this piece of art. I have to go and do this commission. And it's hard because my art is for other people. I don't have a lot of, I don't think to myself, oh, I'm going to sit and I'm going to go and draw something. I'm doing it for somebody else. So I think the fact that I'm a student and I have other things. Oh no, I'm not a student anymore. I have other things to do. I think if it was my whole job, which it might be in the next few months, I would need something else to do for fun, because it's you've really touched on it there, that it's not my hobby anymore, it's my job now, and that's really hard to differentiate. So I would definitely probably start going to life drawing classes now that everything's coming back on again, just for fun, really.
I think it's something that a lot of artists face, especially coming into this as a full-time job, is that, you know, learning to find the love for it again, as opposed to it just being a job that we do, or just a commission. When you're in those times, when I have writer's block, for example, and you've been faced with like a commission or something that you've been told to draw, and you're not feeling that spark, not feeling that creativity, but how do you then find that drive again? So for people who are watching, who may be feeling a similar feeling, what do you do? How do you find that spark again?
I think spending time in nature actually is the most overprescribed answer. I do go out a lot, especially when I'm home now. I'll go and do some riding, you know, spend some time with the horses, and just see that, like, they are art. Like, I don't, you know, they're just seeing them there, and they're not just a still picture. But I got some advice from a friend that hasn't. If you're stuck and you're overthinking something, is if I'm overthinking, I'll write, and if I'm underthinking, I'll read, and that's my gem of wisdom to pass on.
Right.
I'm often underthinking, especially with art. It sometimes becomes like an autopilot. like I kind of, it's like when you're driving and you like zone out and you're like, how did I get here? I'll look at a finished portrait and I'm like, how did I finish this? So reading, I read as much as I draw, I think. So going somewhere else is lovely.
I just love how you say the horses are like, they are art and they are life. Funnily enough, I also go into nature to get inspired.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, it calms you a lot. I see art as storytelling. If you're drawing, you're putting a pencil to paper and you're telling a story through that drawing. If you're making a piece of music, you're telling a story. What sort of stories do you want to tell through your art? Or alternatively, what stories do you think deserve to be spotlighted?
I think through my art, I almost feel like a bit of a like a seer, in the way that I'm trying to tell the story of somebody else's love for their own animal, and it's like I'm trying to channel that into the portrait. And I think you can really see it. You can see in portraits whether there's love been put in, and I think that's, especially nowadays, I think championing love and what we love and what makes us feel loved and comforted is the most important. And I think spotlighting those sorts of stories in a completely different facet, spotlighting young people's stories, young artists, young minority artists especially. I was so lucky, my art education, I had a wonderful art department at my school, because I'm trying to, well, hopefully to be a teacher alongside doing my art. Hearing that kids and seeing that they don't have the resources in schools for art. Kids have such wonderful stories to tell and they're not given the resources to do so. So I think championing young people and young minorities, BAME minorities as well. I've seen some just fantastic art recently and I just think kids should be given the space to express their stories however they like.
Of course, 100%. I completely agree. So working in this industry, how can people access these resources if they're not being given it in school or in public places? What would you recommend is the easiest way to, if there's a young kid who likes to draw but they don't know if they should use acrylics or oils, or they don't know how much it costs, or all of that kind of the nitty-gritties, how do you think they can be made more easily available?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's money. The amount of money that I bet you put in, that like paints cost, that pencils cost, and all these hidden chains on creativity that you need to carry along with you if you're going to make this piece of art. I think the internet is such a wonderful, like, new digital art now is the way that my business is going, and I can't put it off anymore. It needs to happen. I think I would say all you need is a pencil and a paper and go out and find something to draw. If you want to draw people in the train station, if you want to draw a tree, a building. And I think building those skills is something that money can't buy. You could have the best paints in the world and on these wonderful pencils, but if you don't have those valuable skills that I think are fairly cheap to develop, but are priceless as you get in to the and as you said, it's a very closed business. I think it's very elitist. I think it's very deeply racist, especially in commission. And I can't speak for minority groups, but to see young minorities coming through and seeing them paint these fantastic portraits, I think it should be definitely encouraged. And I think it just goes down to schools and the money that they're not putting into schools. The money is just falling away from the arts departments and the music departments. And it just really breaks my heart to see that they're not getting the money that they deserve.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree with you more. Where do you see this industry going in the next decade, and where would you like to see it go?
Where do I see it going? I touched on digital art. I've just started doing digital portraiture now. People want it cheaper and faster, and that's just the way of the world. People want it quicker than traditional oils. People don't want to wait however long. The industry, I think, is going... I actually think the divide between the commission world and the I suppose I'll call it the passion for art world is just going to get deeper and deeper and deeper, and I think that kids are going to be told not to go into art, and all these sectors are going to be siphoning off, and I don't want it to do that. I want the money to be put back in, and I think I was just on the cusp when I was at school of there was just enough money. I went to a selective school, and there was only 3 of us in our art class. And when we were talking about university, what I was going to do at university, I said that I wanted to do fine art. One of my teachers said, like, you can't do that. You've had this wonderful education, you're academically bright. Why do you want to do art? Because I'm good at it, and here again I finished my university and I'm still doing art. So
where you'd like to see the industry going, you want to see more money being put into those grassroots levels.
Yeah, that phrase, as I've grown up on the farm, if you don't plant the seed you can't get the crop, and I think people are going to be wondering where all these artists have gone when they've just been nipped at the bud.
Yeah,
there was that really funny article in lockdown, and it was like the least employed jobs, and the top one was an artist, but then there was a graphic of an artist that they'd had to employ an artist to make that graphic.
Yeah.
And people have been consuming media and culture in lockdown, and people just don't realise. I hope that there is a realisation soon.
Yeah.
That we need the arts sector, or what are we? What are we without culture?
Art and culture are just so interlinked that I don't even know where the circle starts.
No.
I had a similar thing in school as well, where I academically was going into sciences, and when I said that actually I want to pursue an artistic route, I was told why. I think it's changing that attitude as well. I think is fundamentally important, teaching our teachers to value those skills as well as the academic skills as well. I think that all comes down to our education system, really.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, what is the difference then between traditional art and this more, aside from the obvious differences, one is digital and one is traditional, but you said earlier that you think those traditional skills are lacking now in terms of what's being taught. Why do you think it should be important that we go back to that?
To make art, you must imitate life. I think you have to be able to look at something, and however you want to portray it on a piece of paper, that's up to you. But I think those core skills of being able to transfer something you see to something in front of you, and it goes beyond just making something look realistic. It's how information comes into your head and then goes down onto the paper. And I found that at GCSE and A-level, it was really, you see it and you put it down, and it has to be realistic or it's not good.
Yeah.
And for me, that worked really well. I did really well in my GCSE and A-level because that was where my skills lay. My friend, I saw people in my classes who were abstract artists and then were penalised for it. And and then I got to university, and it completely flipped, and I was out of my depth completely. And they were, I was doing some fantastically abstract work, and obviously it wasn't me, but it was for other people. And I think integrating those two things and having abstract thought is essential to traditional skills, and traditional skills are essential for abstract art. I also think that life drawing should come back into school, not just a naked woman, but just every an apple on a table. It's so important to capture life. I was talking about earlier is to see from life and get it down. There's something about taking a picture of something and then drawing from a photo, which is what I did a lot at A-level and GCSE, that just sucked the soul out of the thing that you're drawing. And I think phones do that. So I'd like to see more life drawing in schools.
Yeah.
But then with the pandemic, what can we do now? I've been to a few virtual life drawing classes, and they're just not the same, Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can come back.
Yeah, I think, it's about connecting these two worlds, connecting, digital, traditional, abstract. It's not so much of a dissonance, but more of a like, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And, in order for artists to move forward in a digital age, we do have to adapt, but it's remembering that in order to adapt, we came from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And,
exactly.
we can't throw that away. That's still very important, because without that, we wouldn't have come to this next level.
I don't think that digital should replace anything either. I think it should just be an extra facet to the tree.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to smother up all of the like traditional roots that we've come from.
Yeah, I think it's the attitude, like not valuing one practice over the other. Seeing the importance of. I see it a lot in theatre as well, with post-dramatic theatre and more commercialised theatre. I think, we can't have one without the other. So it's not a case of, oh, this is better or this is worse. It's just, you can have your own preferences, but as an individual artist, you develop your craft based on your own interests. What sort of challenges then have you faced, just as a creative?
I think trying to break into the world of being young, and I think there is a lot of prejudice about age, that young people can't be good artists. You have to have so much experience to...
I feel that.
Yeah, like people won't take you seriously. People won't take you seriously because you're a woman, because you I don't know, you choose to have a wrap at lunch. Like, people will find so many reasons to just not let you in, just because I don't have 100 years of experience and I'm not like painting like a Michelangelo or something. But I've had a relatively fair time. I don't think I could really talk about challenges. It's just exposure, really, trying to get your work out there. And I completely sympathise with those who aren't working on commission and just want to show off what they do and just put it out there, because that must be, I can't even imagine just trying to get my work out there. I'm not really the person to talk about challenges, I don't think.
What do you reckon can be done then for people who want to get their work out there?
When kids think about being an artist, they think about, well, kind of what I do of sitting at a table and painting for a living. But art is so much more than, it's all of the creative industries, the theatre industries, the design, sound, directing. It's all in, that's a way to put your work out there. But I just think working together, it's a very really terrible answer, but I think the art community can be very lonely sometimes. And people, it's all about competition. Like, if I try and reach out to another artist, it's like, what, are you trying to steal some of my... I'll ask a question like, oh, what paper are you using? Like, that looks amazing. And they'll see that I'm also an artist, and they're like, oh, well, what paper do you use? And it's like a tit for tat. And I think if people work together, and like schemes like this scheme of giving artists voices to show their work off is so important. But I think working together, the art community can have a bigger voice.
Yeah, that's really the aim of Feetured. We really want artists from different fields, different backgrounds, to really find a collaborative process and really get away that stigma of, viewing each other as competitors, but more as, supportive networks. That's the aim of this, really, is to just bring, cheesy the sounds, to bring people together. You're based in the Northwest. If you don't mind, is that where you're originally from?
No, I'm from the Midlands originally.
I thought so. I'm also from West Midlands, so I recognise the accent.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What drew you to the Northwest then?
The Lake District, honestly. I was like, I can go and I can draw the Lake District. I actually ended up in the Northwest. It was a bit of a happy accident, really. I wasn't planning on going there, and then fate put its hand in, and I ended up at the uni, at Lancaster uni. And I kept thinking to myself, oh, well, I didn't really think there was much of an art scene up there. Like, I knew a few, like, commission artists, like, pet artists that I'd spoken to, and you know, there were a couple of mentors up there, but I never really knew about the art scene. I didn't think there was a particularly big theatre scene. I was like, I don't know what I'm just going to be a lonely artist up there. I did obviously a lot of drawing in the Lake District, and then the art department and the Leica department were surprisingly fruitful. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly well established, and they had all these links and these wonderful things, and then the FAST department as well. And I think the uni really grounded me and gave me more opportunities than I ever thought I would have. So I think I did underestimate the uni's ability to insert me into the art of the Northwest. I'd like to live there, like, permanently. I think it would be wonderful. Nice to have the Lake District on your doorstep.
I know. It honestly, like, takes my breath away every time I go. It's so special. I had a similar experience. I didn't realise how well established the art scene was in Lancaster and the Northwest in particular. Why do you think it's so important to keep it alive here in this area?
Because people like me who aren't from there didn't know about it. Mm-hmm. It's just it's like hidden by the Lake District. I think it's like a little gem, a secret that is a secret given to people who live in the Northwest, but nobody else knows about it. Mm-hmm. And I really think if people keep creating art and people work together and start shouting about it, then the rest of the country will know about it.
Yeah.
Because I just had no idea. And then you see all these wonderful schemes and projects that are going on that deserve, you know, national recognition, but it's just like overshadowed. I don't know. It's like a very strange but wonderful place.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that it's a hidden gem, and it really deserves to have, I think, more love. And hopefully, with this, with projects like this, we can give it the spotlight it deserves. What are you currently working on at the moment, and what are your future endeavours?
I'm still working away. I actually haven't got many commissions lined up because of my finishing my degree. I've been doing a little bit of graphic design work. I tipped my toe in that, and I've just finished that project. But I don't know. I haven't got any set plans for the next academic year, so I don't actually know what I'm going to do. And for the first time in my life, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I don't mind.
Nice.
I just taking every day as it comes, I think. And I think I should have that attitude with the business as well, just seeing hopefully it picks up for Christmas. But yeah.
Francesca, thank you so much for talking with me and for joining us for this interview. It's been honestly such a joy talking to you. For people watching, how can they find you? How can they, if they want, a commission?
Yeah.
Where can they find you? What are your socials?
Well, my personal Instagram, which is where I take most, is at Fran_stripes, but I'm sure that it's on all of the posts.
Yes, yeah.
My Facebook, Francesca Adams, is there as well. Just people drop me a message, then I can run through anything with them.
Also, yes, all of Francesca's links and socials will be provided alongside this interview. Thank you so much for people who tuned in to watch, and thank you for keeping up with the Featured series. If you yourself are a creative or an artist working in the Northwest and you would like to be featured with 3 Left Feet, you can drop us an email at featured@3leftfeet.co.uk. That's FEETURED@3leftfeet.co.uk. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.